Coming up on Hold All Tickets, final Group 1s of the season in Sydney and Lammy, we touch on a one-hit wonder of the 3-year-old crop.
We do indeed. He won 5 from 10, but we're not convinced about his credentials going off to stud.
Couldn't have put it any better myself. Of course, Mornington Cup Day coming your way too. All of that and much more on Hold All Tickets right now. Hello and welcome to Hold All Tickets. It's April 17th as we charge into the last Group 1s of the Sydney Autumn Carnival. I'm your host, Alex Donnelly, back from a very sunny Adelaide. And Lammy, we are in a new studio. It's nice and intimate in here.
It is, and apparently there's no airflow, so it could get steamy later on.
It could. So what was it? Is it the 50 Cent or Nelly song that we really don't want to have happen on the show?
Yeah, no, we don't need that.
We definitely don't need that. Of course, on Hold All Tickets, we are brought to you by our sponsors, BoomBet. Great fixed odds, more value, and more boom moments. Sign up today and get in on the boom. Now, as said, all age day and champagne day at Royal Randwick, but we do have the Mornington Cup, which is winning you into the Caulfield Cup, as well as the Hariba Stakes and a couple of other interesting races throughout the day at Mornington. Now, follow us along at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. It's just at Punters. Make sure you like and subscribe all of those pages, as well as giving us a follow. Make sure YouTube, you hit the notifications bell. So anytime we do a video, it pops up on your feed. But Lammy, that is enough business. Let's rip into the important stuff here, and mainly what everyone's here for. It's the Self-Trumpeters of the week.
Yes. How many votes we got this week? 1, 2, and a 4.
Ooh,
so
4.
Not heaps, but the 4 voter is quite good.
Yep.
So 1 vote. Michael Felgate. He posted during the week that John Massara confirms Autumn Glow won't run in the all-aged and her campaign is over, which is good info for punters there, but he's gone a little trumpet by adding a screenshot of the actual text message from John Massara signed off with JM. So it's a bit of I'm mates with John Massara about it.
Now, was this a message that came through as like, do you reckon when John Massara sent it, it's gone through as a green because he sent it to like he's got media people?
It could be, yeah. The little JM at the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But it could be like a, Gareth Hall and a couple of others get it and just at the bottom just to confirm it's Massara, JM.
Yeah. But he didn't need to.
Yeah,
include the text message. So 1 vote for that. 1 vote also for David Taylor, not racing related, but I thought this was worth a vote from Dave. He's a financial reporter, and he posted an article that he'd written for the ABC News with the caption, "I've given everything I've got this week reporting on the biggest financial event since the pandemic." So he's referring to the Trump tariffs.
Yep.
Here's my latest analysis following another night of heavy falls on Wall Street. So I've given everything I've got is perhaps a touch hyperbolic. It is his job to report on financial events. So 1 vote for Dave. 2 votes, Damien Ratcliffe. On April 7, Damo posted time for Bobby Hill and McCreery to step up. So he's talking about the Collingwood small forwards there in the absence of Lachie Schultz, who's injured. They both played quite well against Sydney. Hill kicked 3, McCreery kicked 2.
Kick 3.
What's that?
McCreery kicked 3, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
Have I got it the other way around, perhaps?
Well, they kicked
they kicked 5 between.
A lot of the smalls kicked a lot of goals over my head on Friday night. I saw it.
So Damo's... So they obviously played well. He's quote tweeted his original post with tweets that aged well. So I'm not sure that saying players need to lift is the bold prediction that Damo thinks it is.
If he's come out and said Bo McCreery and Bobby Hill kick 5 goals between them this Friday night in the absence of Lachie Schultz.
Yeah.
Like
if he tweeted something like they're both under pressure, they need to lift, I'm predicting a bounce back here. They'll sway the game in Collingwood's favour. That would warrant a repost.
Yeah.
Need to lift or need to step up, that is not quite worthy.
And after one game, like if they do it again this week, then it's like, okay, they've done it 2 weeks in a row, I'll give it to you.
Yep. The Collingwood Nuffy's got around him. I mean, I am a Collingwood Nuffy, but
he doesn't miss when it comes to certain things on Collingwood.
4 votes, Rick Mack.
This was good.
Kersner is a horse that Rick McIntosh bought and syndicated. It won at Rockhampton at odds of 200 to 1. So there was an article on the win and the backstory published on the Rocky Racing website, Callaghan Park. Rick posted that article with a little lead in the caption, "The biggest and most enjoyable weekend ever. Rick McIntosh makes a winning call in Rocky to take out the 2-year-old classic. Then DKJB, I assume that's a horse.
DKJB, won at Wagga in the 2-year-old race.
Yep. Salutes at Wagga on Sunday from the same sale. I guess the party was no fluke." So he's gone. It's a bit of a trident here. He's gone the third person, Rick McIntosh, Then he's given himself a pat on the back for his eye at the sales.
Yeah.
And he's also managed to get a Stapati mention in there. He'll be raising the bat soon for Stapati mentions, as we know, as he's let us know many, many times he's in the ownership of Stapati. Yeah. So 4 votes for Rick there. Potentially lucky to get away with 4, but I don't think he's had too many slip-ups.
First votes this season.
Okay, so that's why it's only 4 for Rick. And that concludes this week's Trumpeters.
Yeah, so Miles Fitzner still leading on 28. The Hawk, Andrew Hawkins on 21. 14 to Xavier Peagam. 9 votes, Damien Ratcliffe, who's up into the top 4 now. Hong Kong next week as well for a few on the junket.
Yeah, so, I don't think Damo will be on that junket, but Hawk certainly will.
Hawkins is a red hot crack. I'm sneaking over, but I can tell you right now, I'm in economy.
How's the junkets for you at the moment? Gather around all up into Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Get back from Hong Kong, get across to the Wagga Cup as well.
What the hell am I doing?
All right, let's have a look at last week's results. Actually, before we do that, we need to mention that Thoroughbred Sales is the #1 online horse platform for owners looking to buy a racehorse with over 130 trainers and syndicators to choose from. Horses will be eligible to run in the new $4 million race series with over 400 races having a bonus. Bit of them popping off in Queensland at the moment. So check out Thoroughbred Sales today. Let's get into last week's review, Lammy. Now, Bendigo was your place to play, and the track really didn't help you out.
No, not really, especially not in the first half of proceedings. It was very hard to make ground from the back. And then I think tempo played a part in the second half of the program. The leaders were going pretty hard to find that inside rail, and it sort of evened out a little bit. But yeah, it was tough going for punters early in the card. Your
best bet was a Sweethearted.
Yes, and it blew the kick. It was a big run, but it's developed a nasty habit of being slow away. And the horse they truck-loaded, Manalo Bling, just found the front with no effort at all and was never losing. But yeah, stick with Sweethearted, but if it keeps missing the kick, then it's not good for punters.
Your next best was Regal Vow, which was scratched, so half a tick.
Yep, goes around this Saturday.
Yeah, and your best value was Electric Bell. I'm assuming something went wrong.
Yeah, it had to be. It was basically pulled out of the race.
Got beaten 30.
Yep, I was on the quick backup and perhaps didn't handle the quick backup because it was beaten about 600 from home.
Yeah, and how'd the Guru go? I couldn't find his tips. I know his best was commemorative, so that was a miss.
That was a miss. Sydney Cup, he was heavily against the favourite.
Yep, so we'll give him a tick there. I think it started $5.
We'll give him a partial credit there. His next best was Via Sistina.
Evens tick.
Yep, bit cowardly, but that's all right.
That's all right.
I can't recall what his value was off the top of my head.
Well, tip and Via
But he didn't shoot the lights out in your absence, so your job's safe for now until your next junket.
Tell you next week, I got one show and I'm off for about 3 weeks. Then I'm back for 2 and I'm off for 6.
That's bad news for me.
All right, this week's boom odds offer. I've got the email across from Chris. They've got a boom odds offer on Briasa in the All-Age Stakes. You can get $6 about Briasa to win the All-Age Stakes this weekend. Of course, check out a boom bet for the terms and conditions there with how much you can have on. As always, gamble responsibly. Now, across from Chris, some early action at Randwick. They're taking on Clean Energy, who has Ryan Moore off. It's a big jockey change in Australia, maybe not anywhere else. Few bets at the $2.65 in race 6, which is the JRA plate. New Endeavour, a lot of money around $6 before Faulkner Park was scratched. They've also taken some bets on Touristic at about $30. In the Champagne, they've seen some interest with nepotism, but Buffalo has attracted the biggest individual bet so far at $8. And they have State Visit marked as a value play in this race, and I think that it'll be backed in. And Jimmy's the only liability for them in the All-Age Stakes. They expect it to drift, as well as Briasa getting out above $4 with an expected backing of Broadsiding. So pretty interesting there, but also one of interest. Race number 9, Age of Kings. They've seen some good bets early at about 80 to 1. So pay attention to that. I think it's Chris Waller in the Cerise, that horse. But we do have a couple of Group 1s this weekend, two to finish off for the season in Sydney before we head off to Adelaide and Brisbane. The Champagne Stakes is the first of those. Which way are you looking at it?
Going with Within the Law. It doesn't look the ideal prep on paper. He's fifth up for the prep if you count the Golden Slipper.
She went through the fence. It's all right.
Steps beyond 1,200 for the first time, tackling a Group 1 mile race. So on paper, it doesn't, scream back me. But he really looked like a horse desperate for further last start. He took a fair bit of riding, and then it wasn't till sort of the last 100 metres, even the last 50 metres, where he really started to go through his gears. And when in doubt, default to Bjorn Baker.
Yeah, Bjorn.
At the moment, he's just in unbelievable form, so I'm happy to go that way, but low confidence play there.
I called the summer of Bjorn over on Canberra Cup Day, and since then, just been Group 1 win after Group 1 win. It's
Yeah.
Unbelievable the form that he's in at the moment. I'm sticking with nepotism, even with the sticky gate here. I hope they put him in the race. We saw what he did in the Balliol on a heavy track. Once he finally got clear, he got a big cheer here in the punters' office, just absolutely smacked him. That came after a good run behind Tentris and Woden on debut. Third start, he's continuing to improve and up to the mile by Brutal out of a Casino Prince Mare. The wet weather around Sydney at the moment, not too much of an issue. I think he's a very, very handy colt. But
do you think it'll be genuinely wet on Saturday?
There's some rain around. We had Caitlin Malin on the punters preview earlier, and she said it's been raining on and off in Sydney. So they've probably kept the taps off, and it's a 7 this morning. Okay. So maybe a 5 or a 6. Yep. But Team Hawks, it's a Group 1. Put him into the race, please, for the love of God. Speaking of Team Hawks, they have the favourite in the all-age with Briasa, and we know he's going to be in the race because he's drawn barrier 4. He looks extremely hard to beat. He
does. I think both of us weren't 100% convinced about where he's at in terms of the elite level, but I think he proved his mettle last start for sure. No reason why he can't at least hold his form third up as well. It's not like it's the end of a prep run. Perfectly drawn. He's versatile in terms of his racing pattern, but you'd have to think he'll be in the first half of proceedings from there. The fact that he's likely to settle a few pairs in front of Jimmy Star, my boy, I think that'll probably be the difference in the end, and that's why I'm leaning Briasa over Jimmy.
2 third-up wins for 2 wins. 2 third-up runs for 2 wins, sorry. One at Canterbury and one at the Kenzo where he's just smashed him. So, look, it's a big step up. But I think from barrier 4, he just gets the right run once again. I think he's hard to beat. He's just continuing to go on an upward spiral. Yeah, he'll get ticked off for an Everest. We all know that. Broadsiding is the interesting one. People either have him as an extremely one that's extremely hard to beat, or he's got absolutely none, 2,000 back to the 1,400. But his 1,400 metre record is unbelievable. 4 starts for 3 wins.
Yeah, I didn't have him in my top 3. Yeah. Thought Magic Time's probably the underrated horse again. Seems to go around at decent odds in these races. And yeah, $12. Barrier 7 should get a nice run as well.
Poor Sunshine in Paris can't draw a gate.
No, cannot.
All right, Lammy, let's get across to Mornington where you've got 10 of the best to get through this weekend. And we love Mornington, but geez, it's a tough track sometimes.
Yeah, it's a nice place. Betting there is a different story, but hopefully we can have some luck this week. Going with Berkshire Breeze as my best bet, which goes around in the feature race. Has to overcome the outside barrier, but he's hard to tip against on the strength of his close second to the talented Deacon over 2,600 last start. They put more than 4 lengths on the rest of them that day. That stands out as the best last start performance in this race when you're going through all the field. And I think he's the most talented horse in this race. He's sort of mixed it up a little bit over his last few preps, but open to further improvement 4th up. I think with a bit of luck from that gate, he's certainly the horse to beat and deserves favouritism.
I like it. Your next best comes up in the final event of the day, and you're following on from a horse that was runner-up to one of your best bets the other day at Caulfield.
Yeah, Prancing Spirit. Probably should have beaten Heart of Glass last start. Just got held up at a vital stage and then flashed late. Thankfully missed for those who were on Heart of Glass. But that form is pretty hot. Heart of Glass had previously run a slashing second to Tatsumaki, who looks a very promising sprinter despite going under at short odds. Last start, he had excuses. That day was never on the track. So I'm trusting that form. Prancing Spirit's only real miss was on that shocking track at the Valley, where a lot of horses failed that day. But other than that, his form's really consistent. So, yeah, we've got to wait till race 10, but I think hopefully it'll be worth it.
And finally, your best value comes up in race number 2, benchmark 70 over the mile.
Yep. Late pivot to this one. My other one was scratch. So we'll go with Dane on tour. Pretty consistent in this grade. It's not a strong race and maps for an economical run from the inside gate. She's been up forever. Stable couldn't have her much fitter and importantly trained on the track, which is always a big factor at Mornington. It's a tricky little circuit, horses for courses. So hopefully Dane on tour can run a drum for us. You
always have one of the locals winning at decent odds on this day, so it's always good to find ones. I remember the Jake Noonan rode one for his dad at about 60s in the last leg of the
quad.
Yeah,
they're a dangerous combo at Mornington.
It wasn't fun. We get across to Randwick where we do have 10 of the best there. Soft 7 currently, some rain around in Sydney at the moment, so it'll be very interesting to see how this track ends up playing on the day. My best bet comes up in race number 4. I'm backing the truck up again with Clean Energy here. T. Clark goes aboard here for Waterhouse and Bott from barrier 2. Ideally, she's not going to be 3 and 4 deep the trip from that gate. Look, I know Ryan Moore's got his knockers, but there wasn't much else he could do that day the way that the race panned out. But she only went down half a length really late. They got knocked off by She's Got Pizzazz, who had just the dead set drop on her. Step up to 1,400 metres is a little bit interesting, but you just have a look at the set weights and penalties nature of this race. She is sort of thrown in at the weights here, and she's still got those 2 wins over Lady Shenandoah that I can't get out of my mind, as well as the win at Moonee Valley, where the track was not playing for swoopers that day, and she absolutely killed them. So one last chance with Clean Energy.
It was good down the straight too in defeat.
Yeah, she was. Next best comes up in race number 10. A little bit cowardly here, but going with Tavi Time, the 5, just to place here.
Horse.
I do. And he's trialled really well. Look, his first up record, 5 starts for 2 wins. Gets J-Mac on board. Last time J-Mac rode him, he absolutely smashed them in a midweek race at Warwick Farm. I do like the starting point here of the 1,400 metres for him. I do think he's a 2,000 metre horse now, but I just think from barrier 6, J-Mac will have him a little bit closer, especially after 2 barrier trials. His record on soft tracks reads 7 starts for 4 wins and a placing, so happy to back him there. You have a look at some of his form. He was beaten a length and a half by Gringotts when starting favourite in the Big Dance, and then he was pretty decent in the Summer Cup when winning there over 2,000 metres. But as a kickoff point, very happy to back him the place to kick off his prep.
Very good.
Best value comes up in race 3, and this is going against the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, because Swift Falcon's in this race, and he's about even money at the moment. He's drawn barrier 7 of 10 over 2,000 metres, which I can tell you one thing, he's going back.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like Tyler Schiller has retained the ride, hasn't he?
Yes, all the way through. Yeah. But he's settling positions 10th of 10, 5 of 8, 9 of 11, 7 of 8. And that's he settled 5th when he drew barrier 4 in the Randwick Guineas and settled 9th when he drew barrier 4 in the Rosehill Guineas. So
what sort of tempo are you expecting in that
I
race?
think this is going to be a crawl. So this is why I don't want to be with him, because he could just get so far away that he can't pick them up again like he missed out in the Carbine Club. So I'm going for a little bit of different form here with Maison Lewis for John O'Shea, Tom Charlton, Zach Lloyd. Look, he's been running around Hawkesbury, Goulburn the last couple of starts, but his win at Goulburn last start in a set weights and penalties race was pretty impressive. Like, he sat off the speed there and absolutely caned him. It was a horse that looks like he needs 2,000 metres. He's by Super Seth out of a McVie mare, so I don't think a wet track's going to be any issue for him as well. I do like Zach Lloyd jumping aboard for Andrew Adkins here. He's doing this all on one prep, but he does look ready for the 2,000 metres now, and he's about $13-14 at the moment, so I'm happy to back him each way in a race that looks very trappy, because I know a few multiplayers will be charging in a Swift Falcon, and I just...
We're getting a third dividend there?
At the moment, yes. There's 10 runners. So hopefully...
Good little 1x3 play
there.
there.
I'm thinking that there. Just lob into a place from barrier 2 if you can hold a position early. But it's a pretty tricky day at Randwick.
Yep.
So we need to get to the yays or nays, Lammy. A little bit of interesting stuff going on last week. So I'll go with the first one here. And it's just a quite simple one. Is the whip rule a joke?
Yay. I think it is. We're referencing, or to put context, it's around Lane breaking it to win the Oaks last week.
Yep.
I think he copped
10
2
grand.
weeks and a 10 grand fine.
I think he won 20 for the race. So.
Yeah, the fine. Would have had that in the glove box. But I think jockeys are always going to break it when it comes down to winning a Group 1 or a feature race versus spending a week or so on the sidelines. Like, Treasure at the moment may not have won the Oaks if Lane didn't get stuck into her with the spade up before the 100, because she really did hit a flat spot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until late that she really started to pick up. So I think currently it's just there to appease the anti-racing folk who wouldn't even be able to tell watching a race if a horse is being over-whipped or not. Even those who watch racing every day, like, you can't really tell first watch, maybe on the replay or when you're having a closer look. But I don't know, like, I think if we're serious about this rule, there either needs to be stricter penalties for breaking it, like being relegated to second.
In England, if you go 1 over, and I think they've got 8 strikes for the whole race, if you go 1 over, you get suspended.
Yeah. So something like that, or we just scrap it, because at the moment, jockeys, they'll stick to the rules at the midweeks on Monday, Tuesday, but when it comes to a big feature race, they're happy to break it, which is not good for the game really, when you have jockeys picking and choosing when they want to break a rule.
Yep.
So yes, I do think it's in its current state, it is a bit of a joke.
Yeah, it's one of those, we've done something, but don't look too deeply into it. Yeah, it's a bit of a joke.
Yep. Switzerland was the definition of a one-hit wonder. Yay or nay?
Massive yay on this.
Yeah.
Turned up for 2 runs in the spring, won the Roman Consul, and then smacked him in the Coolmore. Never to be seen again.
Yeah, he won 5 races, but 4 of those were in 2-year-old fields of 10, 7, 8 and 8.
Yeah.
Obviously the Coolmore was his
was electric.
One big hit, and it was awesome. But the form out of it looks
it's rubbish.
Dodgy as. The best horse out of it to date has been Lady of Camelot, who finished 4th that day. None of the colts have done anything. So I just think, I mean, whenever a horse goes to stud, especially when it's a horse with the ownership of Switzerland, you're going to have people pumping up its tyres. But the stuff we've been reading during the week, best colt of his class, cream of the crop, etc., we just need to ease up.
Technically true, but also he's not the best 3-year-old. He's not even in the top 5. But you look at it, so he's standing for 60 grand or something. Yeah. And then a horse like City of Troy, who was a Derby winner, then won a Breeders' Cup race, I think, also won at Royal Ascot, and then won, might have been a Juddmonte or another race like that. Like legitimate world-class credentials for a couple of seasons. Like did it 2, 3, and 4. And we're getting Switzerland for 60, and I think City of Troy's 44. I know where I'm sending my money. City of Troy.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a sensation at stud. You never really know.
Yeah.
Racing Victoria have got it right with their recent changes to the racing calendar. So they've moved those 2 races that they put to November at the end of the spring, 1,000 Guineas and the Sir Rupert.
Yep.
They've moved those back
to their original
to the
days.
spring. So the 1,000 Guineas is now, I think, 2 weeks after the flight, and as a lead into either the Empire Rose against the older mares, or for horses that are looking to step up over more ground, they can go to the VRC Oaks.
Yep.
Good move, bad move?
I like it. And they've also moved one of the many 1,400 metre Group 1s to November.
They've moved the all.
Yeah, I don't mind them all. I'm a yay on this. I'm not massive on continuing to change for the sake of changing, but I get it why they moved the 1,000 Guineas.
It's been moved about 5 times.
Yeah, it used to be on like the Wednesday, then they moved it back to the Saturday. Just keep it on the Saturday for now. I don't mind. I like it there. But it did give an option for fillies at the end of the season. If something wasn't right for a flight stakes filly, you could press, the reset button and still get towards that Group 1. And then as far as the ore moving, yes, I'm for it, because we've got so many of the same races over and over again. Could be very interesting, because it's like, well, does that take away horses from the Perth Carnival, from the Winterbottom and the Gold Rush, whatever that $1 million 1,400 metre race is? Does it also potentially take away from horses who might think of going sprinting in Hong Kong? Do they stay at home because it's worth $1 million as well? So it'll be interesting to see the quality of the field. Personally, I'd delete that race, because we've got 3 of the same Group 1 1,400 metre weight for age races at Caulfield. I don't think we need them.
Yep. I'm yay. I think having the Sir Rupert Clark back as a lead into the Toorak, which is over 1,600 3 weeks later, it makes more sense than where it was. It was just felt disjointed and weird.
It's also, it can be used as a lead up to an Epsom or a Golden Eagle as well. So I like the changes.
Yep. Final one. I think we're going to be in agreement on this.
Yep.
Giga Kick is exceptionally well placed going to the Goodwood instead of the Doomben 10,000. Yay or no?
Oh, big yay on this, because of the set weights and penalties conditions, and he hasn't won a race since the Everest that he won 2 seasons ago now. He's going to get in near on the minimum there. So
I think he'll carry 54.5.
Yeah, he's just towed in on that. And after his jump out at Balnarring the other day, he looks back. Funnily enough, my old man during the spring last year kept taking horses to Sydney for the midweeks, and Giga Kick was staying at the same stables. The day of the Everest, he rang me. He's like, I'm going to back Giga Kick in the Everest. And this is just out of the blue. I'm like, why is that? He's like, I've seen him all the way through. He's like, he was fat, he was hairy, he looked gross. He is ready to go today. So he saw the improvement, because he had basically a year off leading into the Everest. So he saw the improvement the horse had, obviously with another prep under his belt, and the tender nature that Clayton Douglas and connections have had with him going to this race, and only getting a float to Adelaide rather than flying to Brisbane. Good job.
I think he went up 4 when this news was announced. He's into 3, and you can imagine he'll probably start closer to even money on the day, all things going well. But 54.5, that's pitched in there.
And Mark Zara
quality
getting down to 54.5.
You don't see that very often.
No, that's a bit of a sign there.
Indeed.
All right, that is us done and dusted this week on Hold All Tickets. Of course, thank you to our sponsors, BoomBet. Great fixed odds at more value and more boom moments. Sign up today and get in on the boom. Now, Lammy, I think you'll be joined by the Guru again next week.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'll be off in Hong Kong, mate.
It's nice for some, isn't it? What's the what will the Guru be previewing? Is it a sharp drop off a cliff after this?
It feels like we're due for like Scone or Wyong or something. Yeah, Hawkesbury is the week after. Let's see, next week, the 26th, we're still at Randwick. That's for a top race of a benchmark 100 over 1,500 meters and a class 3 highway over 1,000.
All right. Good luck, Guru.
That'll be good fun. But hey, big thank you to producer Gerald behind the camera as always. But make sure you follow Punters on all platforms. Subscribe, like, review. Make sure you do all of that, as well as, hitting the notifications bell on YouTube. That's the most important thing. But we will catch you next week on Hold All Tickets.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.